Hello and welcome to another one of my sound sculpting sessions in which I will try to walk through my workflow and thought processes as I explore various sound design devices. In this case, I'm looking at the Dreadbox Nymphes again. This time round, I'm going to be looking at a deep throbbing, pulsating, bassy drone type of sound that I really enjoy those kind of sounds for adding a bit of deep, dark energy to your soundscape and a real brooding atmosphere. So this kind of thing is what we're going to be looking at. So that's the sort of sound that we're hoping to aim for, roughly, and we may well experiment and create some variations on that kind of theme. In terms of how we get there, well, I'll use my starting point I always do, which is the default sawtooth patch that I've saved as Sound 7 in Bank 7, the last sound on the Nymphes, so I always remember where it is. So we go to Load, hold down Shift to go to Bank 7, and then we let go Shift, go to 7, press Load again, and I should have my sawtooth patch, which is very simple. Sustain up high, rest of the envelope up down, down to 0, the filter wide open, everything on fairly sort of basic settings, so you get a really nice blank slate, blank canvas to work with. There we go. This just means we can hear what we're doing. So I recommend setting yourself up a default patch that suits you and saving it somewhere where you can easily recall it when you start your session. So first things first, this is a mono sound, and I'm going to take advantage of the Unison mode again, Uni A, which gives us all 6 voices for a really lovely, beefy unison sound. So menu 1 for voice mode, and then menu again, number 2 for uni mode, and out to save. Already sounding quite nice, just as a simple unison sawtooth. Maybe bump the detune up a bit, Shift and that slider. Maybe a bit more. Yep, I mean, it's starting to sound a bit super sawy, but we'll see how that works. Let's have a bit of a mix between the sawtooth and square waves, pulse waves. It's nice that you get that continuous variable mix on the Nymphes between the different oscillator shapes. Just adds some more harmonics in there, makes it a bit more of a complex sound. Gonna have the main oscillator up to full, and also bring in quite a bit of sub, so we just get some real beef. And it's already growling like a rabid bear coming at you, which is a nice start before we've hardly done anything. And we're not going to have any noise. We are going to have a bit of pitch LFO going on, but no pitch envelope. Just a bit of pitch LFO, I think. And actually, we're going to look at the LFO in a bit, so we'll tweak it again then. Filter. Have the cutoff up quite high for the low pass, and a bit, actually, I'm going to have a bit of high pass as well, just because we've got that sub in, and this is a low bassy sound. So to tame some of the low end, what I do often do with this to make it sit better in the mix is just go to a low note and then bring the high pass filter up until I start to lose a bit of the thickness, and then sort of leave it, maybe drop it back down a bit, just so you can have too much of a good thing when it comes to the low end. And resonance I'm going to keep down for now, because we're going to play with that in a bit. About a moderate kind of third of the way up on the filter envelope and filter LFO. Still can't hear a great deal of what's to come in terms of that because we haven't set the LFO yet. And while I remember it, a bit of glide as well is nice on these kind of sounds. So when you do that octave jump that works quite well with these kind of drones, you get that little slide effect, portamento coming in. So let's see if that... Yeah, nice. Filter tracking we'll have up for this one, just so it's consistent up the keyboard compared with the note you're playing. Moving on to the envelopes. Amp envelope, which you get with Shift, is going to be simple really, just everything, I think, well, attack and decay down low, sustain up full, and then enough release that it just doesn't cut off immediately. You just get a subtle little release when you release the note. That's too much, for example, I think. We just want... just so it doesn't gate totally kind of abruptly. Cool. And for the filter envelope, which you do without Shift, I am going to similarly have, an immediate attack, a bit of decay, I think, and the filter sustain level down a bit. Going to have the release basically the same. And I'm going to need to just pull the cut down a bit on the low pass to hear that a bit. So I want that decay up. We're just getting a little bit of bite on the filter for the attack portion, just to give it a bit more dynamics. So it's not just a straight up sound every time you hit it. Let's push that cut back up for now. We're going to use the LFO2 to modulate that. So we'll bring it down and then push it back up again with that. In terms of chord mode, we're not going to use that on this like I did with the stab. This is just going to stay as a pretty standard unison sound. But, I mean, it could sound quite cool with different chord settings. Like the chord setting at the top is quite nice for really in your face sound. Quite, no one's going to accuse that of subtlety, but for now I'm going to have that at just unison, So moving on to a vital part of this, because it's sounding pretty cool as a drone as it is, a lot of welly to it, but for this sound we're looking for a throbbing effect, which naturally we're going to look to the LFOs for. And the first one, let's have the rate about 2/3 of the way up. What we're going to do, well, I'll save that for a bit. I won't mention that now, but we're going to use the for that kind of sucking upwards movement, like that you might have heard in the original sound that I played. We are going to use the ramp wave, so it starts off low and then builds up and then drops down, and you get that kind of cool sucking type effect almost on the filter. So let's see how that sounds. Now, if you can hear that, just going to check that delay and fade are at 0, which they should be. We don't want to use that on LFO1, just have that as standard. But you may have been able to hear that the oscillation is the same speed no matter what note you play. And what we actually want for this is for it to track the keyboard, so you get a faster pulse the higher up you play for that. It just gives it some real movement and dynamism and excitement to the sound, really. And to do that, we go menu, we're already on 2, which gives us the LFO2 menu. And then if we press Shift menu again, we get into the extra LFO parameters for both LFOs. And this slider gives us the different ranges for the speed, which goes from MIDI sync, slow range, fast range, and tracking the keyboard, where lower notes play slower LFO, higher notes play faster LFO, and that's what we want for this, where the LED is solid. So, and also I'm going to make sure it's key synced so that it just gives that consistency for a drone like this. So when you get the speed right and the feel right, that you know it'll always be the same every key press. So let's try it out. Yeah, nice. Lots of crazy throbbing going on, which is a good thing if you ask me. Might not be to everyone's taste, but I love a good throb. Yeah, okay. That's LFO1 done, really, I think. Let's go back into LFO2 menu. We're already in 2, so I don't need to change that. And like I did with the ambient rave stab type sound, if you checked that one out, I'm going to use LFO2 in essentially an envelope mode where you put delay down to 0 and fade up to max for a single shot LFO that will just cycle through once and then stop. So which makes it basically like an envelope. And so again, I'm going to have that on a ramp setting. So all these modulations I set will push down low to start with, and then as you hold the sound, they'll build up, which can be really nice for sustained sounds. Just giving it kind of builds up to a bit of a crescendo almost. And rate wise, I'm going to have that nearly at the bottom. Again, I think what I'm going to do is go Shift menu to get into the extra features, and I am going to get Shift activated so that I'm looking at LFO2's extra features, and I'm actually going to make that one track the keyboard as well, so you get a faster envelope for the higher pitch. So I think that will be quite nice. Can't hear anything yet because we haven't assigned LFO2 to anything. And I'll make that key synced as well. Again, as I say, I need to look into actually, if you've got the one shot, I'm presuming it probably is key synced just by necessity, but I'm going to set it anyway. And now if I go press menu again, and I'm still in LFO2 menu, now I can set all these routings for LFO2, the fun part where you can really get it doing all kinds of evolving, morphing type of things. And I'm going to bump up the wave mix a bit with the LFO2, so you get a sweep across the wave mix, maybe even into a little bit of triangle wave. I am going to also hold Shift and get a bit of pulse width sweep as well going on with that. Not going to affect the oscillator volumes, I don't think, but I might pump up a bit of noise. And what I do usually like to do is modulate the glide with these LFO2 pseudo envelopes. Because, not the glide, my apologies, although that could be interesting too, detune. So you just get the detuning changing over the course of the note as you hold it, and it just the more movement with these kind of things can just really add up to a more interesting and complex sound experience for your listener. And you can hear how the LFOs, as it's a per voice LFO, the sync sort of almost drifts for each one, I think, because it's in unison mode and you've got multiple voices going, each of which has an LFO going at slightly different speeds, is my understanding of it, and it starts to all get quite drifty and sound quite interesting. I'm going to make it also kick up the noise as well. Again, subtle, just as it goes on, more and more noise comes in and it just grits it up a bit. And I'm going to make it also bump up the high pass filter is what I'm going to make it go. Bump up a bit, and the resonance as well. I'm going to make it really pump up. But because we've got the resonance very low to begin with, we're not really hearing it. So I think that's everything for LFO2 for now. So let's get out of here, and I'm going to bump the resonance up. So you start to get a bit of resonance coming in as you hold the note. You can set the low pass filter, how kind of extreme the filter effect you want is by just the base level of the low pass filter. If we have that quite up, you don't get a lot of throb. So you can make quite a few different variations on this theme by depending on how you set these. But if I open up the filter, you just get a less extreme throbbing effect. And use LFO1 rate to just adjust how fast you want the throb. I think I might have LFO2 adjusting the detune perhaps a little much. So I'm going to turn that down a bit because it's starting to sound a bit too detuned, I think. But yeah, I like that. We're not far off now. I'm just going to stick a bit of reverb on there as well. Don't need tons because this is really a sound designed to be played down low, and you don't usually want a massive amount of reverb on the low end. But we'll go to menu number 3, and this gives us, as always, the menu, the reverb parameters here in this little section: size, decay, filter, mix. Whack the mix up high to start with to hear what we're doing, and filter up just so we can set the size and decay by hearing them a little more. So yeah, you start when you've got the filter wide open, you can really hear that metallic sound, which is quite cool if you're really going for some special effects. But usually I want to tame that down a bit. And I'm going to have, I think that was fine, just sort of fairly moderate settings for everything. Just adding a bit of space and atmosphere. I think that's quite cool for that, really. What I haven't worked out how to do on the actual panel is set the reverb settings from the modulations like LFO2. You can do that via MIDI CC, which I've made an editor that allows me to do all of this editing from Cubase as well. And from there, I can make it so you can do things like have the decay getting longer as you hold the note down, or like bring in more mix on the reverb with the mod wheel or various things like that. And that can be, you're really going for like wonky, crazy soundscapes, then once you modulate the reverb as well using things, you can get, it opens up a whole new playground of sound escapades. I'm going to leave that for now. What I might actually do, this is the kind of sound where having a bit of mod wheel action is really going to be nice, I think. Probably less so velocity. It's not really, that's more, that the velocity based modulations are probably more suited to more percussive sounds. You could do an aftertouch is also adds a whole load of extra modulation type effects you can put in there. So there's lots of expressive things you can do with it, which is fantastic. I'm going to go to mod wheel. That's number 4. You can see there on the menu. And I'm going to make the mod wheel. What could we do with it? I think let's make the mod wheel detune a little bit. And let's make it bring up the filters a bit as well. Maybe a little bit of resonance. And we could almost make it so it makes the LFO go a bit faster as well. Let's see how that works. It's additive, I think, so I mean, if you're doing this, often you want to go to the highest part of the mod wheel and have your work on your end point. You can hear how it's making the LFO faster as we push up the mod wheel. Maybe let's get a bit more high pass. See how that sounds. That's our normal sound, and then we can kind of just add in subtle changes. You can have loads of fun with that. Just, you know, it's all about adding a bit of expressive possibilities, isn't it, really? And then you could really go to town and make it go like super detuned, for example, if you push the... And I'm not going to go into it too much with this sound, but actually another nice thing is chord mode, which, as you can probably tell, is one of my favourite features on here. You can modulate that and cycle through the different chords that you've set. And as you can set your own chords, you can set an array of different notes and cycle through them. And that, again, is something that's got lots of interesting experimental possibilities. But if I push up chord to max on here and then use the mod wheel, it will cycle through. Oh, there we go, got our sound back. So I also made some sounds that use that kind of effect as well. But for this, again, I'm going to drop it back down. And you could potentially go into number 6, sorry, aftertouch, and, you know, maybe add something in there like more resonance from the aftertouch, and perhaps bumping up the noise. You know, this is all just me. So that's normal, and then it doesn't seem to be doing it there, but if I do it on this note, I hold down the aftertouch, you're getting more resonance there. So I'm going to go out of that. So yeah, I think that's a pretty good sound. I'm going to save that. Go to bank 1. And I'm going to go to 2. I'm going to save that.